Hey there, ghouls and goblins. Welcome back to Goosebumps Reviews, where we take a look at all things spooky. Today, we're looking at one of the most out there episodes in the classic Goosebumps series, Attack of the Mutant, based on the same book written by R.L. Stine. These episodes mix up horror with superhero comic book madness, making it one of the most unique and divisive entries in the franchise. How is it so polarizing among many fans and critics of Goosebumps? Let's dive in and find out. Attack of the Mutant originally aired on September 7th, 1996, and is based on the book of the same name. It follows Skipper Matthews, a comic book obsessed kid who's got a soft spot for villains, especially the masked mutant. One day while riding the bus, he spots a building that looks suspiciously like the mutant's secret headquarters from the comics. Curiosity gets the best of him, and Skipper finds himself in the middle of a real-life superhero comic plot, but he quickly realizes it's not all fun and games once his life is on the line. Let's start with Skipper. He's that classic Goosebumps protagonist, a bit awkward, overly obsessed with his comics, and easily distracted by his imagination. I think we can all relate to Skipper at some point, getting lost in the fantasy worlds we love. Danny Worry-Smith does a solid job making Skipper feel like an everyday kid who suddenly finds himself caught up in something way beyond his control. One character we can't forget is Libby, Skipper's new friend played by Melissa Bathory. At first she seems like the voice of reason, skeptical of what Skipper saw, but as the story unfolds, we learn there's more to her than meets the eye. Without spoiling too much, her role adds a fun twist to the plot, and like a lot of Goosebumps stories, nothing is as quiet as it seems. Now, let's talk about the Masked Mutant, played by Scott Wickware. The Masked Mutant is a cheesy Silver Age comic book supervillain come to life, an evil shapeshifter who can transform into anything he wants. Wickware plays the character with just the right amount of menace and over-the-top villainy, making the mutant both campy and creepy at the same time. He really sells the idea that Skipper is up against a powerful foe straight out of the comics. But we can't forget about the big guest star of the episode, none other than Adam West, yes, Batman himself, who makes a special appearance as the Galloping Gazelle. West's cameo adds a fun layer of nostalgia for any Batman fans out there. He plays the Gazelle with his signature charm and wit, bringing a lighthearted old-school superhero feel to the story. But let's be honest, the Gazelle isn't exactly the most helpful hero around. He spends more time roasting Skipper about him being a strange superhero than actually fighting the mutant, which only adds to the humor as his character when he just leaves never to be seen again. Here's a fun fact. It's said that in Adam West's contract that he gets to keep the costume of any role he does, so he got to keep the Galloping Gazelle costume after his brief cameo in these episodes. So, what makes Attack of the Mutant so polarizing? Well, it's not your typical Goosebumps episode. There's a lot more focus on the comic book angle than the usual horror we're used to in the series. Some fans love the blend of superhero action with a spooky twist, while others feel like it strays too far from the typical Goosebumps formula. It's fun, colorful, and a little goofy, but it doesn't have that same creepy atmosphere that other episodes in the series are known for. Speaking of atmosphere, the set design is wild. It's bright, surreal, and feels like it's been ripped straight out of a 60s superhero comic. The colors pop and every hallway feels like it could lead to something bizarre and dangerous. It's definitely a departure from the darker, moodier sets that we're used to seeing in Goosebumps, but it works for this episode's comic book theme. It really captures the over-the-top, larger-than-life feel of a superhero showdown. The visual effects in this episode are a mix of practical effects and some early CGI elements, which might feel a bit dated by today's standards, but honestly, the campiness of the effects adds to the charm. This is a Goosebumps episode that leans into the fun, embracing the absurdity of comic book logic. But while it's not the most terrifying episode, it's definitely one of the most visually distinct. As for the story, the ending is where people are really split. It leans hard into the comic book style of storytelling, which means the final showdown has more of a superhero twist than the typical Goosebumps horror twist. Depending how much you're into the superhero genre, you might find it clever or maybe a little over the top. Personally, I love that Skipper's knowledge of comic books plays a key role in how he outsmarts the villain. It's a fun way to tie his character traits into the resolution. So, does Attack of the Mutant hold up? If you're looking for classic Goosebumps scares, this might not be your first pick. But if you're a fan of superhero stories with a spooky twist, or you just want to see something different from the usual formula, this episode is a blast. The unique concept, Scott Wickware's performance as the Masked Mutant, and Adam West's guest cameo make it stand out even if it's not as scary as other episodes. That's it for today's review. Did you enjoy the superhero angle, or do you prefer the more traditional Goosebumps horror? Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more reviews. I've been that Goosebumps guy, and until next time, stay spooky.